So Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, how long do you actually have to stay there in order to be tax resident and secure that 0% personal tax rate for income tax, capital gains tax, and so much more? Well, don't worry guys, I'm going to share the exact process and the flow chart in this video that's going to help you determine how much time you need to spend in the UK to secure that, and how you can pay 0% income tax on your potential worldwide income and gains if you get that structured correctly. Okay, so we've got a handy flow chart here that we're going to run through over this video and add a little bit more detail as well, and basically just see what it takes to make sure that your personal tax residency is based in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, so that you can ensure that your personal taxation, it's important to mention that personal and corporate taxation are separate things. So when it comes to personal taxation, is usually where you spent the most amount of time, or at least a significant amount of time. It can be more complicated than that, especially when you are just recently or have recently left a high tax country such as the UK, because they don't want to say goodbye, so they actually make it quite difficult for you to become non-tax resident. But usually it's based around potentially the ties to the country and also the amount of time you spend there. On a corporate level, it's all about the places of central management and control. So actually, where is that business run from? Where do the big activities and the big decisions take place? And that's typically how a corporate residence is decided. In this video, we're talking about personal tax residency. So for you as a taxpayer, looking at your salary, dividends, interest income, capital gains. So what we're going to do, we're going to work through this flow chart. I'm going to talk through it and then add a little bit more detail for each step as well as we get there. So the first place to start is, were you physically present in the UAE for at least 183 days in the relevant 12-month period? So this is quite a simple one, and we always encourage clients where possible to spend those 183 days in Dubai, because ultimately that's the winter, that's the best time to be in Dubai, and that gives you 100% clarity as to the fact that your personal tax residency will be in Dubai based on the 183 days spent in Dubai. But assuming that you don't, well actually then, were you physically present in the UAE for at least 90 days. So this is a 90-day rule that everybody mentions. A lot of people, quite often when we're speaking to potential clients or looking at messages and emails that we get in, it's, oh, I've seen this 90-day rule, can I just spend 90 days there? Well, actually the answer is yes, but often it depends. So assuming that you do, then we'll work down. So for that 90-day rule to be in place, you must also have that visa as well. So do you have a UAE, or are you a UAE or GCC national? Probably not if you're watching this. Or do you hold a valid UAE residence visa? And assuming that you do, most people will have, especially when they've worked with somebody like ourselves, we'll potentially set up a company for them, they've got an employment visa, or you've got a visa by investment, potentially a golden visa. So then you would go down, do you have a permanent place of residence in the UAE? Yes. So they're the three things that you need to do if you want to spend as little as 90 days in the UAE and have your personal tax residency there. So you must be physically present for at least 90 days. You must have a valid UAE residence visa, and you must have a permanent place of residence. So that's just an apartment or a villa that's available. But assuming you don't, we'll work down this. Do you carry out employment in the UAE? Again, even if you don't actually have a job, so to speak, if you have a free zone or a company set up and you're employed by virtue of that, which is what we help people set up here at JSM and Tax Smart Wealth, then yes, you will actually be deemed to be carrying out employment, because you will have an employment contract with your company, which is how you get your visa and how we help a lot of people get their visa. If you'd like to explore how you could potentially be paying 0% income tax by relocating your personal tax base to a fantastic jurisdiction such as Dubai, United Arab Emirates, please do book a call. We are chartered tax advisors, so specialists in the UK tax and the UAE. We have offices in both countries, so there's nobody better equipped to help you get this structure set up and get it set up correctly. Fundamentally, there are a lot of people in this space, especially when you get to Dubai, that do say, yes, 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 this planning is perfectly acceptable. However, later on they end up coming to us, and unfortunately what works in Dubai and the UAE isn't acceptable when it comes to the UK and HMRC. So if you've got UK assets, UK businesses, you're coming back to the UK quite often, the chances are it's probably not as simple and as straightforward as you've been previously told. Do you carry out business in the UAE? Yes, that's probably going to be the case if it's everything structured correctly. So again, you'll be UAE tax resident. So assuming that you've got no here, then you work down. Was the UAE the place where you habitually or normally reside? And are your personal or financial interests closest to the UAE? These are the types of questions that we as tax planners don't particularly like, because that's where there can be a great deal of subjectivity. The UAE might say, yes, okay, we agree with this, but the UK, somebody else. It's basically where you can put a lot of evidence forward and some kind of tax tribunal could go either way on this, and as a result, you aren't in control of your tax status. So we'd always try to avoid those kind of circumstances and make sure that we can determine your tax residence on a matter-of-fact basis. So do you carry out business in the UAE? Yeah, we can make sure that that's the case. You tick that box. As a result, you are UAE tax resident, because we wouldn't want to get to the stage where actually you're under the impression that you're UAE tax resident. You might have spent all your money or you've invested, your cash is tied up elsewhere, and actually for some reason you're deemed to be UK resident, and the UK would want their tax on your worldwide income and gains for that year, and potentially even up to 5 years prior. In some cases, we've got other content about that on the YouTube channel. And then just by staying that one day too many or getting that not right, that could be a ridiculously high amount of tax that's completely unexpected just by being a bit subject. So we want to make sure that where possible, 183 days is fantastic. But if not, you can do it with the 90 days as well. But what you would have to make sure there is that you're not deemed to be tax resident in another country, because that's where it will get complicated. If you are spending, say, 6 months in another country, well, actually, you could be UAE tax resident, but you could also be deemed to be tax resident in another country as well. Then we'd have to look into the details, examine the tax treaties, tiebreaker clause, and dig a bit deeper. But fundamentally, especially if you're coming from a high tax country such as the UK, actually, even if you were just to spend 90 days in Dubai, but spend, say, 6 months in the UK, well, actually, you'd still be tax resident according to the UK. And then what you'd have to do there is basically make sure that you don't go over those days in the UK. So it's all about, especially as you're just leaving, really minimizing the number of days you spend in the UK. For the vast majority of people, it can be as low as 45 days in the UK that you can spend. For some people, it could be as much as 120. So it's important that you get that analysis right, so that you know exactly how many days you can spend in the UK without being tax resident. You can do the minimum 90 days over in Dubai. That will secure your tax residency there. Then actually you've probably got 6 months potentially to go to other different countries. But then we would have to make sure that you don't spend the full 6 months in one country, as they might look to deem you tax resident there as well. So it's all about basically working with a specialist like ourselves, who can then say, well, actually, no, you need to consider spending a little bit less there, more in one other country, so that you have clarity over exactly what taxes you'll be paying, where and when. Hopefully, the ideal result for many of our clients is 0 taxes in Dubai. That's the best thing that you can achieve. Personal tax residency there, no tax on salary, no tax on interest, no tax on dividends, and it's a great way to really help you build and accumulate wealth, because you're not giving over half of your income over to the tax man each and every year. If you would like to find out more about working with us and how we can help you legally slash your tax bill to as low as 0%, as you've seen here, please do book a call in with myself where we'll run through your circumstances, see exactly how we can help you and work together moving forward. If you find this video useful, please do make sure you give it a big thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as we post brand new tax saving, wealth building content. Bye for now.